All right, guys. Welcome to After the Catch presented by PGM, episode 5. I'm your boy KB.
This playoff. Welcome back. We had a little break there due to some, personal things that were going on. But KB and I are very excited to be back and, chop it up, about what's been going on in the college football and NFL world recently. Um, so yeah, man, appreciate everyone that's tuning in and locked in with us. We'll jump right into it with we are at college football week 8. So let's dive right into it with some scores.
All right. So we have Stanford and SMU. SMU won 40 to 10. We have Iowa State, UCF. Iowa State won by 3, 38 to 35. We have Kansas State against West Virginia. West Virginia lost to Kansas State 45 to 18. That was a murder. We have LSU against Arkansas. They won 34 to 10. It was looking really close in that game, but I guess LSU is doing what they're doing right now. Texas A&M against Mississippi State. They won 34 to 24. Alabama loses to Tennessee. The Volunteers are coming up. That freshman quarterback, man,
Yeah.
you got an arm on him, man.
Mhm.
The Tennessee won 24 to 17. What do we have? We also have Charlotte against Navy. Navy's undefeated. This is like, whoa, they're undefeated.
That's
They
crazy.
won,
I did not
bro,
know that.
they're not just winning, they're beating the brakes off people. They won 51 to 17. It's
Okay.
insane. Um, we have Michigan against Illinois. Illinois, they won 21 to 7. Notre Dame against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has fallen off since week 1. They lost 31 to 13.
Mhm.
We have Miami against Louisville. Boy, Cam Ward is a bad man. They won 52 to 45. It was a shootout, and Miami ended up coming over on top. We have Auburn against Missouri. Missouri won 21 to 17. Indiana beat the brakes off Nebraska 56 to 7. Man, we have Army. That's also who's having another great season. They're undefeated as well.
Wait,
45 to
so
28.
so they're both ranked? Army
They're
and
both
Navy?
they're both ranked. So
That's
Army's at
crazy.
yeah, Army's at 23, and then let me see, Navy's at 25.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we have Clemson against Virginia. They've been actually stepping up since they played us week 1, 48 to 31. They beat Virginia. We have OK State against BYU. They lost to BYU by 3, 38 to 35. And then Oregon against Purdue, 35 to zip. Oregon is now the number 2 team in the nation. But that is it for the scores for the top 25.
Okay.
So, playoff. What do you think, man?
I don't know, man. There was some games that everyone was really excited about going into the weekend. Obviously, I'll let you get into what happened with the Bulldogs. The Alabama Tennessee game.
Mhm.
Um, Alabama, man, there is interesting because Alabama beat Georgia,
Mhm.
um, and they were really looking like the best team in college football,
Yes.
and then they barely beat my team, South Carolina. Um, well, first I think before that they lost to Vanderbilt, which no one was expecting that.
Vanderbilt, man.
No one was expecting them to lose to Vanderbilt, and um, so then I knew they were going to come into the South Carolina game angry, upset, really trying to prove a point. South Carolina, is a talented team. We're not ranked, but every ranked team that we played in our schedule has been kind of tough. For the
Mhm.
most part, every ranked team that we played them like tough. Like it's been a tough game. It hasn't been like they smoked us or blew us out. And so
Right.
South Carolina should have won that game. They ended up um, opting to go for a long field goal uh, that could have potentially won the game, and they
Mhm.
missed it. Um, but I think that kind of showed, because South Carolina isn't, like South Carolina's a good team, but they're not a great team as far as the SEC goes. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that kind of showed that Alabama is not the dominant version of the team that people are kind of used to seeing over the years, you know? And
Yep.
so after that, this is really an opportunity for them to, like Tennessee ranked, they're number 11. It's an opportunity to kind of show the world, like, listen, like, hey, we had this misstep against Vanderbilt, but that happened. Sometimes you just have like bad games. And Jalen Milroe, I'll say, like, he's been good for that program for the most part, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Like the way he played against Tennessee, and I'm not sure if it was something going on with him or what, but he just did not look like the Jalen Milroe that I'm used to seeing. Like
Sure did
he,
not.
yeah, like his passes, and he's a runner. He's a dual threat quarterback, so he
Mm-hmm.
runs as well. But and I'm not sure. 'Cause I haven't watched a whole lot of Alabama games,
Mm-hmm.
but his passes were all over the place. His accuracy was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was his passes were high, um, or they just weren't where the receiver was. And so, obviously they end up losing that game 24-17, and now they have two losses, which it kind of it makes it really tough. Like I could see the committee trying to find a way to put them in the top 12, depending on how the rest of the season goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be hard, I think, to put them in the top 12. Like I think that's going to be difficult. Um,
Tough
and
game.
actually, I was surprised. What were you about to
Yeah.
say?
No, I'm saying it was a tough game. I'm very surprised, just as you.
Yeah,
Surprised
yeah.
you.
So as far as that game definitely surprised me. Like I said, I'll let you get into what happened with the Bulldogs this weekend. Clemson, like you said, they had that loss to y'all at the beginning of the year, but since then they've been steady. They're 6-1, undefeated in the ACC, which I mean that's not really saying a lot. Um,
Not really at all.
but they're the number 10 team in the country, and I think as long as they continue to win, they got a shot at getting into the playoffs as well. I'm trying to see if there are any other games that kind of surprised me. I know, I haven't really watched many Miami games, but I hear a lot of talk about Cam Ward and how excited people are
Mm-hmm.
for him, coming out as a draft pick potentially in the draft next year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all I've heard are good things, and I mean he's doing really good things with that Miami team. So salute to him for kind of getting that program. I mean, because Miami's kind of been irrelevant for a long time, and I mean I don't think they've been this highly ranked in a while. So um,
Cam
and then
Ward effect, my friend. Cam Ward.
and
Man.
then last but not least, man, Oregon, I mean, they look really solid right now. Um, I mean that win against Ohio State was impressive, and I mean their coach Lanning, he gets that team ready. You know what I mean? So
He comes from a certain place.
yeah, we know. I thought that after Bo Nix left last year, I thought maybe they would take a little bit of a step back. As far as
They
not
got
getting,
that quarterback from Oklahoma,
yeah,
Gabriel
I didn't
Williams.
know. Yeah, I didn't know where he was from. But I mean, the offense almost looks better with him uh than it did with Bo Nix. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah.
there's maybe an argument there. Um, I mean, other notable games, and I guess we can kind of get into this a little bit later.
Hmm.
Um, Colorado got another win.
They did.
They
They did.
beat Arizona. They beat them. They smoked them 34-7, and now
Good.
they're sitting at a record of 5-2. So they only need to win one more game to be
To be
bowl
bold.
eligible.
Mm.
So how are you feeling about them?
Pretty good. Like I said, I have high expectations for Deion Sanders.
Hmm.
I know people say I'm crazy, but the only way I see him getting coach of the year is if they make playoffs. Like they have to make playoffs. and that means they have to make it to the Big 12 championship. There's
Yeah.
no other team that's as hot, that's as popular as them. So it just makes sense for them to make it to the championship and for them to take that next step in winning and then putting themselves on the map. Because if the more they win, the more recruits they get, the better
Yeah.
they'll be.
Yeah, man, and it's like it's funny because and I know we don't, we really kind of only talk about top 25 teams, but the season for Florida State has just been an absolute disaster. Like you go from, people thinking, all the talk in the offseason was, oh, they should have been in the college football playoff and they were mistreated, and that's all Florida State fans were saying. You know what I mean? And then you come into this season ranked, you're a top 10 team, you're number 10 in the nation coming into the year. You've only won one game this entire season.
It's nasty.
And they just had another loss over the weekend. I'm trying to remember who they lost to. Oh, it was Duke. The Blue Devils, who they have never lost to them in football.
Preach.
Never. It's never happened. So, bro, I like Norvell. If the seat wasn't hot before, it's hot. I think it's hot now. I think it's only going to continue to get hot. And to be honest with you, let me look at Florida. Let me look at the rest of Florida State's schedule real quick. Football schedule.
I think they're out of the running to make the ACC championship, right?
Oh yeah, there's no way. There's no way. Okay, so they got two more losses on the way because well, they play Miami this upcoming weekend. So we already know what's going to happen there, unless something. I mean, you never know, but on paper they'll lose that game. Yeah. Then they got North Carolina after that, and then they got Notre Dame, which I mean Notre Dame is ranked. Yeah. Then after that they got Charleston Southern, which I mean that's kind of like a cupcake, but yeah, I don't even know who Florida State is capable of beating right now. The way that team is playing, so you never know. And then they got Florida as their last game of the season, but. Yeah, man. Like I said, that seat I think is just going to continue to get hotter and hotter. And honestly, I feel like we're on a potential path, depending upon how the season plays out. As long as Colorado continues to win, the program continues to shine. Like, let's say they win a bowl, potentially get into the top 25, maybe even make it in the college football playoff. I don't really think that. I don't think they're going to make it. I think there's a greater chance they end up in the top 25 than. Being in the college football playoff. I don't think the team's really good enough. And to be honest with you, they haven't really beaten. Like who have they beaten?
That's a good question.
They don't really have any notable win. Like the only ranked opponent that they played this year was Kansas State, and they lost 31-28. Central Florida wasn't ranked when they played, right? I don't think they were. No. Okay. So yeah, I mean they haven't really beaten their schedule's not really that tough. I mean the rest of their games they got Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. None of those teams are ranked currently. But I mean for him to take the program from where it was last year to this year and showing that improvement, like I said, if they end up being a top 25 team at the end of the year and they get like a solid bowl game. I could easily see Florida State like, hey, we're going to go in a different direction. I mean, Deion Sanders at Florida State, like.
They don't want that smoke, bro.
You don't think they want that?
I don't even think there's a certain Seminole fan that just want.
I know he would hate it, but I'm just talking about.
If he can make a reunion and get to Florida State, it's way more popular than Colorado. I'll say that right now. But if Deion is about actually building something, you stay where you're at with Colorado. You build what you have because that's the only thing that kind of makes the most sense.
I think money talks. I also feel like Colorado being where it is, it's just a really hard place, I think, to recruit like high-profile athletes to come.
Dude, as an athlete, I could if I'm a 5-star, I don't want to play in
the snow. There's no way you're going to Colorado. Exactly. I don't want to play in the snow. So I think it'd be much easier for him, and I think, you know, Dion, especially like if you grew up, like we know who Deion Sanders is, you know what I mean? So it's like if you know who Deion Sanders is,
Mm-hmm.
then and Deion Sanders is in Florida State, I think it makes it a lot easier for him to get like high profile recruits there. But that's just me kind of thinking down the road. But I think we potentially are on that path, and we'll kind of have to see how it unfolds. But um, was there any game? Well, obviously your eyes were on the Bulldog game, but other than that, were there any games that kind of caught your attention or over the weekend?
Not much. I mean, if we're just going back to like the Alabama game, I'm just gonna kind of finish off what you were saying. Jalen Milrow, he looked pedestrian.
Yeah.
Threw 3 picks, got sacked. No, threw 2 picks, got sacked 3 times. 25 for 45. Out of the 20, he made 25 throws out of the 45 attempts he tried to pass the ball. Um, and yeah, he just, for him, I've said it before. We've had conversations about him before. He's not a quarterback in my eyes. When he goes to the NFL, he just won't be a quarterback. He's not. He doesn't have it. He just
Yeah.
doesn't. And I love to be wrong. Please let me know in the comments what you guys think about Milrow. But he's not a quarterback to me. He kind of reminds me of more of like a running back or a slot receiver, or maybe a receiver. But he's just not a running back. I'm not a quarterback. Excuse me. But no. Alabama, we thought Alabama was really good after how they, played against my team and we lost. But you can kind of see like the youth, like it's a lot of freshmen out there, and they,
Yeah.
Came down to what Tennessee had. They were the better team. But also for Florida State, it's just I don't really think they're going to fire Novell. They paid him. They just paid him a lot of money. I think it's like for 3 or 4 years.
Mhm.
So I don't know if if they fire him, he's getting paid still.
Oh yeah.
So he's gonna get all that money back with him when he leaves, and that's gonna be a big hole. So it's like if you're gonna do that, then you better be trying to shoot for a Deion Sanders. But I don't even know how much money that school got. You put so much money into the head coach, and he not recruiting. They're losing recruits. I think they lost a 5-star. So I don't like. It's kind of weird to me, but yeah, no, it sucks. But other than that. Those are probably the two top the two games that I could only think of. Colorado doing what they're supposed to do to get to the bowl, to be bowl eligible, and then Alabama losing for a second time. And it's possible if they lose a third time, they're not making it to the
Oh
SEC.
no, not at all. I mean, they're skating on thin ice right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I think some other higher profile teams will have to lose in order for them to get into the college football playoff. But we'll just have to see how everything kind of unfolds. Before you get into, I mean, because the Georgia-Texas game was a very high-profile game. So before we get into that, I'm gonna get into what happened with the Gamecocks this weekend.
Yes.
So the Gamecocks it's been an interesting season. The the team is or coming into the game, the team was 3-3.
Mm-hmm.
Losses were to LSU, which I don't really count that as a loss based on some of the stuff that happened in the game with the referees, but that is what it is. So losses to LSU, losses to Ole Miss, and then the loss to Alabama, which I talked about a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming into the game. We were at Oklahoma. Oklahoma at one point during the season was ranked. And to be honest with you, I mean, Oklahoma is a new addition to the SEC, just like Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really sure what to expect because, I mean, Oklahoma on paper, you think, okay, hey, they got a pretty decent football program. And I actually tuned into the game a little bit late, and when I tuned into the game, the Gamecocks were already up 14-0, and one of those scores was a pick six that was taken back for a touchdown. The string, and I've said it time and time again in previous episodes of After the Catch, but the strength of the South Carolina team is the defense. Lenora Sellers is a redshirt freshman. South Carolina fans have been complaining about the offensive coordinator and just how kind of bland some of the play calling is. But the defense comes to play every week in, week out, and they're one of the better defenses in the nation. They just don't really get, people don't really talk about South Carolina. We're not ranked. The team's 4-3, so like I said, we're okay. But again, the defensive line gets after the front seven gets after the quarterback. And the DBs, they fly around. They hit. They get turnovers. Just to recap, let's see. So the final score, by the way, I'm sorry I didn't say that, was 35-9. So we absolutely it wasn't a game.
Y'all demolished.
Yeah, it wasn't a game at all. So we had 9 sacks in the game, 13 tackles for loss, and the Sooners were held to 291 total yards on offense. Also, 22 of those points were scored off of 4 Oklahoma turnovers. All right, so Lenore Sellers in the game, offense didn't really have to do much. He was 16-24 for 175 yards and 1 touchdown. Rocket Sanders ran the ball 15 times for 33 yards and a touchdown. Let's get to the defense. Let's see. Tonka Hemingway recovered a fumble. There were 2 fumbles recovered, and then there were 2 interceptions. I'm trying to see who. Oh, Nick Emenwari had 2 interceptions, and he took one of them back for a touchdown. So yeah, just a dominant performance. I was excited, to watch it. And the crazy thing about being a South Carolina fan, I've seen leads get blown before. So I mean, I was happy, but at the same time, I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, like I just hope this doesn't turn into like a crazy comeback victory for Oklahoma. But you could get into when it got into the second half, people knew the game was over.
100%. I mean, you guys shut it down though. That's the most important thing. So
yeah, we still got, bro. Like I said, I've said it time and time again. Our schedule is tough. Four out of our last 5 opponents this year are ranked. So we've already faced LSU, we faced Ole Miss, and we faced Alabama. So that was 3.
yeah.
And we got 4 more. So we got Texas A&M up next. Well, on November the 2nd. That's when we play next. And then we got Vanderbilt. Now they're ranked 25 on November the 9th. We got Missouri ranked 21 on November the 16th. We got Wofford, which that's a cupcake game. And then we got Clemson, last but not least. So, yeah, man, we still got some work ahead of us. But I'm happy with how the team's been playing. Like I said, the offense has been shaky, but the defense, they come out, they play tough, they play with heart, and it's exciting to watch them do what they do, which is get after the quarterback and make plays, create turnovers. So yeah, man, that kind of wraps up what happened with the Gamecocks over the weekend. You want to get into those Bulldogs and talk about that game?
I mean, talk about who's just been looking just like his game has just been off, like so off. It's just looked disgusting. His name is Carson Beck. He's been worse than pedestrian. He played worse than Jalen Milroe. I'm not afraid to say that. And I think some of it is to his wide receivers not catching the ball, but his ball placement has just been horrible. I don't know how you're supposed to work up having confidence with the team that's already top in the nation doing what they do. Just because we don't have Brock Bowers and we don't have Lab McConkey anymore doesn't mean the wide receivers you pass, you can't catch the ball. You just have to place the ball the right way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can just go down his stats a little bit. He was 23 for 41, only passed for 175 yards. His average pass was 7 yards. That's how you know. That's just how you know. Threw 3 interceptions and was sacked once. So, it sucks. I mean, let's not get this wrong. Bulldogs won 30-15.
Yeah, you make it sound like they lost.
Yeah. It's just, but anybody who knows who Georgia is, we've been building this thing since 2017.
and we won 2 national championships back to back. But after that, it's just been like, can Beck live up to the hype of Stetson Bennett? Stetson Bennett was one of the hottest quarterbacks before he left.
Yeah.
And he was also underrated because of how short he was. He couldn't do this, and that. But he balled. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like it's kind of disappointing because he was talking a big game, saying we're ready, this and that. And even during G-Day, if nobody knows what that is, it's our spring game. He looked pedestrian then. So it's just like we with Carson Beck, I don't know what it's going to take to get his confidence up, but I'm hoping he can kind of reset himself with his bye week and just kind of be like, dog, like I actually have a solid team around me. Kind of look at himself in the mirror. What was it? Trevor Etienne, which is Travis's little brother, went off that game. Got 3 TDs, 19 rushing attempts for 87 yards. The only reason why he didn't get over 100 is because we didn't run the ball more with him. But he was doing his thing. Got his 3 TDs. He's the only reason why we won, to be honest. And our defense, man. Our defense was on their freaking P's and Q's. Can't even be mad about that. Let's see what we have. We got 7 sacks.
Okay.
And we had, we forced 4 turnovers. And if anything, when it comes down to it, we pretty much made Ewers look like a freaking high school quarterback. It was hilarious. It was fun. By the time halftime came, they had to switch to playing with Arch Manning, and that didn't work. So it's just like, proud of my team. Don't get me wrong. In the beginning, I thought the way that everybody was hyping Texas up, I thought this was going to be a legit, like, oh my God, this team is legit. They're number 1 in the nation. They deserve. No. Texas, walk before, crawl before you can walk. This is the SEC. You know what we about. Get like us. I mean, that's all I can say.
Who is that? I don't know if it's a linebacker or a defensive lineman. He was the one that kept getting after the quarterback. I think his name's like Michael something or other.
Oh, you're talking Mikael Williams.
Yeah. Is he a defensive lineman or is he a linebacker?
He was a defensive lineman at first. Then he got put to a D end, and he's kind of like an outside linebacker size D end. I put him at D end mostly. Yeah, they can't stop him. But the other dude
he was making plays. I mean, he was all over the place.
Yeah, but a lot of he could actually had 2 sacks, but he kind of got that taken away due to face mask tackling.
Okay.
The real gem of the defense was Jalen Walker. He had, I think, 4 sacks. He was going off. He got converted from a defensive end to an outside linebacker.
Okay.
So that's kind of like middle or Sam. And he was just killing it. He was getting after the quarterback. He was QB spying because we all knew, like, Ewers tries to run it like he's a running back. It's not going to fly with us. But no, I kind of liked it. Even Everett, our corner, he's been having I thought it was a subpar season up until he played against Texas he got the forced fumble because he ended up blitzing the QB, and Ewers didn't see from his blind side. And then he ended up getting a pick when Ewers threw it straight to him. So thought it was a good game by my Bulldogs. Happy we did what we were supposed to do. But yeah, I mean, I know anybody can be like, why are you shitting on Beck like that so much? Well, if we're being honest, being the University of Georgia, if you're anybody who plays for University of Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, just like the top teams in the nation, you expect more. You know what I mean? So it's just, you can't be playing like that when you have the top teams up there. So no, good win. Happy we got it. Texas, we will see you at the SEC championship. We'll win probably by 4 more TDs, but it just depends on what we do. Just playing. I can't say that. I'm just kidding. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Do y'all have a capable backup behind Carson Beck, or is it just?
We have Gunnar Stockton, and then we have I think it's I want to say it's Jalen Rashada. I think. He was a quarterback from Arizona State.
Okay.
But both of those QBs are both like they're definitely like mobile, like they're dual threats, and they can also they can gun it, but they haven't had any significant playing time. So no.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, if Beck ends up getting hurt, yeah, good luck. But we just got to see where we go from there. But good win.
So yeah, man, a good weekend of college football, and there were some good games that we got the opportunity to watch. So now we'll roll over into week 7 of the NFL schedule, and I'm gonna go through some scores or go through the scores really quickly. The first game of the week was the Thursday night game, and that was the Broncos and the New Orleans Saints. And to be honest with you, the New Orleans Saints might as well have not showed up for this game. It was that bad.
That bad,
Um, Yeah, I mean, coming into the game, they lost. Your favorite quarterback or one of your favorite quarterbacks, Derek Carr.
huh?
He got hurt, so he's out for multiple weeks. And I think their top two wide receivers, Chris Olave and who's the other one? Why am I blanking? Oh, Shaheed. Um, both of those them were injured. So they basically came into this week. I mean, Spencer Rattler, former Gamecock, was starting on a short week,
Mhm.
and they had a bunch of receivers that didn't really have a bunch of experience, and so you kind of knew how the game was going to go potentially, but um, just to kind of give some stats. Really, the star of the game was Javonte Williams, the running back for the Broncos. He had 14 carries for 88 yards and 2
My
touchdowns.
fancy running back.
Yeah, I hope you
Yeah.
started him. I hope you started him that week.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Bo Nix, he had an okay game, and like to be honest with you, I'm not really, and I know he's a rookie, but I haven't really been blown away by anything that Bo Nix has shown me this year so far.
Yeah.
Um, he was 16 to 26 for 164 yards. He did have 10 rushes for 75 yards.
Mhm.
So he's been okay, but really, I mean, the Broncos are what really has been carrying that team is the Broncos defense. And so it's basically like, hey, Bo Nix isn't really being asked to do too much. I mean, he is a rookie after all, but at the same time, I haven't really seen any flashes that we've seen from some of the other rookie quarterbacks like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. So I don't know, obviously still a lot of time left in the season. The Saints season is looking like it's a wrap. I mean, it's going to be really hard to come back from being 2-5. Um, so they might have to start thinking about next season and doing some mock drafts. Sorry to the Saints fans. Um, let's get into some of these other scores really quickly. And if there are any games that kind of jumped out at you, we can talk through those. Um, what do we got? Yeah, so we had. I'm just waiting for them to load really quickly.
Oh, good. I got you if you need me to.
Okay, so we had the another. I can't remember. Was it in London or Berlin? I can't remember where the game was, but it was an international game.
London.
It
London.
was in London. Okay, so it was a terrible game. That was another stinker. The Patriots and the Jaguars. We don't even have to really go into it. Just know that the Jaguars won 32-16,
Yep.
and the Patriots are 1-6, and the Jaguars are 2-5. So two teams that are going nowhere fast. The Seahawks played the Falcons, and the game Seahawks ended up winning 34-14. Falcons started off kind of hot. I think they were like 4-1 at one time or something like that, and now they're 4-3.
Mhm.
So they cooled off. They cooled off a bit. To get into some of the stats really quickly, Gino had a good game. He was 18-28 for 207 yards with 2 touchdowns.
Mhm.
Kenneth Walker III, the running back, had 14 carries for 69 yards and 1 touchdown. DK Metcalf had 4 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown, and Kenneth Walker had 2 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown. So he was
Okay.
doing it, running the ball and catching the ball. As far as the Falcons go, Kirk Cousins, he said they cooled off. He was 24-35 for 232 yards with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. It's not going to get it done.
Nope.
Bijan Robinson did have a good game, though. He had 21 rushes for 103 yards and 1 touchdown. I'm not really sure if that Achilles is still bothering Kirk Cousins, but
Mhm.
he just hasn't looked sharp, really. You know what I mean? And so it's hard to come back, especially him. He's not really a mobile quarterback to begin with.
Mm.
And that Achilles injury it really it takes a toll on you because you need your legs to throw the ball. So
Yep.
um,
Got to step into it.
absolutely, yeah. So some of the other scores I'm gonna go through them quickly. The Bills beat the Titans. The Titans are now 1-5. The Bills are 5-2 after the win. They won the game 34-10. Um, the Texans and the Packers, which was probably one of the better games. That was one of the better games of the week. It actually ended up going down to the wire, and the Packers ended up winning on a field goal. The score of the game was 24-22. Both teams are now sitting at 5-2. That was actually a pretty good game. I'm not really sure if you caught that
Mm-hmm.
one. The Dolphins playing without Tua. They lost to the Colts 16-10. Dolphins are now 2-4. Colts are sitting at 4-3. I mean, not really much to say about either of these teams. Tua, like I said, has been hurt. Anthony Richardson continues to look okay. I guess he hasn't really done anything that's kind of he hasn't done anything that's shown me that he's the quarterback of the future for them, to be honest. Because he's like a project quarterback, and I don't know. His play is really up and down to me.
I don't understand how he was drafted so high. I don't.
Hopes and prayers and dreams, man. They thought they could turn him into something that I'm not I'm not really sure he's capable of becoming, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
Um, let's see. We had the Giants got beat down by the Eagles. The score of the game was 28-3. Eagles are 4-2. Giants are now 2-5 after the loss. The Commanders ended up beating the Panthers 40-7. Jaden Daniels did get hurt during that game. It was a notable injury. I want to say it was a rib injury, but they made it sound like they were kind of doing it like out of precaution. The game I think was already in hand by the time the injury happened.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I understand, he hasn't practiced yet this week, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to play.
He needs some milk.
Yeah. They may need to let the young man sit down for a game or two just to make sure, because I mean he's the future of that franchise. I mean
Sure is.
he's already kind of shown it. So just a couple of other games here. The Chiefs and the 49ers. A rematch that people were thinking was going to be competitive, and it absolutely wasn't. The Chiefs are sitting at 6-0. They won the game 28-18. The 49ers are now 3-4, and they experienced some catastrophic injuries during the game. They were already without Christian McCaffrey due to the Achilles tendonitis that he's dealing with
In both legs.
in both legs. Debo Samuel came into the game dealing with pneumonia, or he was sick, and it kind of screwed me in fantasy because I thought they said he was active, so I put him in. And my man didn't even touch the field, basically. And it turns out he has pneumonia, which he had to go to the hospital for because he had fluid in his lungs. But from what I understand, he's been released. So it seems like he's progressing and getting better, which is great. But Brandon Ayuk, we were talking about this a little bit earlier before the pod. He got a severe injury towards ACL and MCL, I believe.
You seen the play? How was it?
He caught a ball. I can't really remember what part of the game it was in, but he caught a ball. He was trying to fight for extra yardage, and then another defender came in and kind of hit him low in his legs, and you just saw his knee kind of bent awkwardly, bent in a way that it's not supposed to bend. And you could tell when he went down, it was, like when players go down, it's like when they know it's bad, they know, and so it sucks. But the silver lining is that he held out before the season started and he got his contract, so he got paid. The circumstances would have been a little bit different if he hadn't got paid and, he was going into free agency trying to get a new contract and then this injury happens. That'd be really bad for him. So So yeah, his goal of getting paid, he accomplished it, and the injury is unfortunate, but hopefully he makes a full recovery. Let's see what else. The Jets. Um, the Jets continue to be. Um, they ended up losing to Mr. Unlimited, also AKA Russell Wilson. Mike Tomlin made an interesting decision because Justin Fields had led the team to a 4-2 record. The offense had looked, to be honest, it didn't really look that great. The defense had really been leading the charge, and so Mike Tomlin made the interesting decision to start Russ. And Steeler fans were most Steeler fans that I know were up in arms about it. They really didn't think it was a good decision. But to be honest with you, Russell Wilson he looked good in that game, and a lot of people were thinking he was washed after his stint in Denver the last 2 seasons. But
yeah,
let me get some stats on old Danger Russ Wilson. Let's see what his game looked like. He had. My computer decided it wants to work. He was 16 to 29 for 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown as well. They did a QB sneak on the goal line. Najee Harris ran the ball 21 times for 102 yards and 1 touchdown. George Pickens, who looked a lot happier because he was actually getting down the field and getting some balls thrown his way, had 5 catches for 111 yards and 1 touchdown. Now let's get over to Mr. Aaron Rodgers, who was the opposite side of the coin. He was 24 for 39 for 276 yards for 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. And some of the interceptions he threw were just like, it was just really, really, like, I think he threw an interception right before halftime that kind of swung the momentum back to the Steelers. Because the Jets at one point were in full control of the game. But yeah, man, they don't look too good. They're 2-5 now. I mean, the season is looking shaky for them. The Steelers will just kind of have to continue to see how it goes. But Russell Wilson, I mean, he proved a lot of the doubters wrong. People were thinking that he wasn't going to play well in this game, and he kind of made people, put their foot in their mouth based on how well he played.
Yeah.
Last but not least, on the 2 games from Monday night, we had Ravens and Buccaneers. The Ravens won the game 41-31. The Ravens are now 5-2, and the Buccaneers are 4-3. Lamar Jackson continues to have a awesome year. I mean, right now he is by far, in my mind, the front runner for the MVP. I mean, he's just playing really well. Let me see if I can pull up some of the stats for the game. I think he had 5 touchdowns altogether. It may have been all passing touchdowns, but let me double check that.
If there was ever a better time for the Ravens to go for the Super Bowl, it's going to be this year. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, that's kind of always been the thing with Lamar Jackson is like he plays really well during the regular season, and he doesn't look like the same player in the playoffs. So,
sounds like a great player to me, D-Lo.
I think he only has like 2 wins in the playoffs. But I mean, his stats were super impressive. He was 17-22 for 281 yards and 5 touchdowns. Derrick Henry continues to have a really good season as well. I think he's actually leading the league in rushing yards right now. But he ran the ball 15 times for 169 yards. And I think he had a receiving touchdown, I believe.
No touchdown.
Yeah, so yeah, man. I mean, Ravens look good. I know all about that as a Bengals fan.
Oh, my bad. Derrick Henry did have a touchdown. It was a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, receiving touchdown. last but not least, before we kind of get into how our teams performed, the last game on Monday night was the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Chargers, and that game was a stinker as well. It actually was on ESPN Plus, so I'm not. I think the viewership on it. I didn't even know it was on ESPN Plus. I thought it was just coming on national TV, but it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The game was nasty though. Cardinals ended up winning 17-15. The Cardinals are 3-4. The Chargers, who started off the season undefeated, are 3-3 now. So, really quick, I know there's really not much to talk about. But I'll let you get into your Raiders for a moment if you wanted to do a little recap of the game with the Rams.
Not really much to talk about. We lost 20-15. Played like crap. But like I said, man, it's tanking season, baby.
It is tanking season. Yes.
Tanking season. Where our goal is to go after Shador Sanders, not Dion. We want his son. Brady just, if nobody else doesn't know, Brady just brought a certain majority stock, owner of the team. And I think
how are you feeling about that?
I'm pretty good. I'm kind of tired of Mark Davis leading with his emotion. I'd rather him lead with his, you provide the money, Daddy Rich. Just go ahead and stay with the money in your pocket and let everybody else do what it needs to do to make it to have a successful organization. We just have been a clown show for the past 2 decades. It just sucks. The last time we had a legit shot, and I thought we could legit make it to the Super Bowl, was 2016. And that was literally when we were like 12-4. We were good. And Derek Carr ends up breaking his freaking foot. So it's like it hurt a lot. Ever since then, we haven't been good. Gardner Minshew is trash. I will say it again. Gardner Minshew is trash. Even when Aiden O'Connell broke his thumb in that game, Gardner Minshew came through and threw 3 interceptions. Three. So it's amazing just how bad he is. He can literally only look at one person to receive the ball, which is Brock Bowers, force feeding him when he's getting triple teamed.
I have Bowers in fantasy, so I'm happy about what I'm seeing.
Lucky you. He's gonna win Rookie of the Year. Lucky. But when it comes down to like what the Raiders need, it kind of just, we have to lose games. And honestly, look, my dream actually might come true if we're being honest, because we have the Chiefs with D-Hop, who just got traded, so he's gonna be, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
We go against your team the week after. That's gonna be an ass kicking, and then we go against Miami, who just got Tua back, and Tariq Hill just said, "Put us on your fantasy team." Because I guarantee you, Tua's going to have at least 300 passing yards, 4 TDs. So it depends, bro. And then we play against Denver Broncos again. And then after that, Kansas City again. Then we play against Tampa Bay. And then we play against Atlanta. I do not see us getting any win anytime this season again. And that's kind of what I want. I'm also rooting for the Patriots to win another game so we can be the worst team in the NFL. I think we're right behind. If we're going to standings, I think we're right behind. So Dolphins are 2-4. The Patriots are 1-6. So we need the Patriots to win. Basically, we need them to win, so we can be right behind them. We don't even have any conference wins either. I think we're 0. Yeah, we're 0. Our division, we're 0 for 2. So most definitely, we need the Patriots to win probably 2 more games if we want to have the number 1 pick. But yeah, no, it's get a quarterback. That's what we need to do. I think, like everybody was saying, the Washington Commanders did the perfect thing by, losing games last season. They ended up getting Jaden Daniels. So it's just Raiders have to do the same thing. Get Shador, Cam Ward, have the better, best of both worlds, interview the hell out of them if we can get there. But I mean, first the Raiders got to do what they need to do. We need to lose games. But on top of that, it's just like, I don't even think we have what it takes to win games if we're being you know what I mean? So it's literally Max Crosby and company. Like, I don't understand. Max Crosby said he's here for the long haul, but I think if he can just sit through this season, we have the second most cap space when it comes to money because we're gonna have over 129 point like something million in cap space. So, and I think we're gonna let a couple of people go. So I'm actually looking forward to this offseason, if we're being honest.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, yeah, Raiders suck. I'm not afraid to say that. I am a Raider fan for life, but it's just we need a quarterback. I'm done going after these. We went after Jimmy Garoppolo. We went after Gardner Minshew, and then we thought that Aiden O'Connell was our future quarterback, or some delusional Raider fans thought that, and you can clearly see he wasn't it. And he was our best shot to losing games, most definitely. So now he's injured.
Yeah, y'all keep trying to put the Band-Aid on the quarterback issue, and it's like at some point you just gotta figure it out, you know. And
Good.
do you have a preference between Cam Ward and Shador?
I am saying I want Cam Ward based on QB traits.
Okay.
But it's more of when you think of Vegas, you don't think of somebody who's like, oh, let's be cool with it. You think of somebody who star power, who wants this lights, who wants to perform under the bright lights, who's all about that shining. And it's literally been freaking, bro. Shador Sanders has a goddamn gift by him. All he has to do is this. Like literally, and he has a freaking Rolex. Like, come on. Like everybody wants to see him do that, toss some TDs in Las Vegas. And I don't care what his daddy says. He come to Vegas, he getting paid. So.
Well, I mean, I definitely understand your feelings. I mean, it's hard to watch a team that you care about, which I know you support the Raiders wholeheartedly, and it's tough, like when the season is basically already lost. You know what I mean?
Yo, I got the tattoo for a reason, man. Tattoo. It's just come on, like we got to do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's like that little stick. Like do something. They do something. Jesus.
Well, switching over to the orange and black stripes. The Bengals, man, it was the Battle of Ohio, as some fans like to call it. So Cincinnati going to Cleveland. Believe it or not, Joe Burrow had never won a game in Cleveland since he's been in the league.
Really?
Prior to what happened on Sunday, like the coach had never won in Cleveland, and Joe Burrow had never won in Cleveland.
Wow.
And that was resolved. The Bengals beat the Browns 21-14. Bengals actually ran the opening kickoff of the game back for a touchdown. I want to say it was like the second or third time it's happened so far this year. Joe Burrow, it was an okay game from the offense. Joe Burrow was 15-25 for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both T. Higgins had 4 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. Jamar had 5 catches for 55 yards. So the offense was okay. They weren't great. Cleveland has a tough defense. I mean, Myles Garrett is still one of the best defensive players in the NFL. And, I mean, they got playmakers all over that defense. So, but I still feel like the coaching staff has these moments because going into halftime, the score of the game was 7-6, and the Bengals were up. And then in the third quarter, that's when the Bengals kind of, stepped it up and put their foot on the gas pedal. And the lead, I want to say, was 21-6 at that point. And it could have been worse, or it could have been a higher scoring game for the Bengals. It could have been 28 or 35 points scored. But the coaching staff is still doing this thing where I feel like when they get a lead, they like relax, or like they feel like they don't want to mess up or something like that. And so then at that point, they start playing conservative, start running the ball more instead of, just running your normal offense and letting Joe throw the ball to, T and to Jamar. On the positive side, I will say this. At one point, the defense was a really big concern because they weren't doing anything. I mean, when we played the Commanders on Monday Night Football, the Commanders didn't have to punt the ball one time. It was crazy. Lamar, Jackson when he played Baltimore, and I mean Lamar is a great quarterback, but at the same time, there were points in that game where stops could have been made, but they didn't. They didn't get made. Like you had individual defenders making mistakes, and people just not getting the job done. But they played the Giants and the Browns back to back, which neither of those teams are great offensively. But the thing about it is, you just play who's in front of you, and even a bad defense can play bad against a bad offense. And in both of these situations, the Bengals defense actually played pretty well. So that's all you can really ask for. So I feel like the offense compared to where it was like in the game, against the Chiefs and the game against the Ravens, like the offense was lights out, but we lost both of those games. So it didn't really matter how well the offense played because you didn't get the win. Versus you're kind of having these ugly wins, or you're having like the offense play not so great, but you're still winning the game. So it's like at the end of the day, I'd rather have an ugly win over a pretty loss, where you're seeing all these stats and touchdowns and yards and all that stuff. And, it doesn't matter if you don't get the win. There's, you don't get style points for losing a certain way. So, really big game this upcoming weekend. We actually play the Eagles. The Eagles are coming to Cincinnati. It'll be the best team we played since the Ravens. And we have after starting out 0-3, Bengals have won 3 out of the last 4 games. And so you have an opportunity now. You're sitting at 3-4. You have an opportunity now where you can get back to 500. You can be 4-4, and you play Las Vegas, which no offense to Las Vegas, but if the Bengals can't beat the Raiders at this point, and you don't deserve to win anything. Like you're an unserious team if that's the case.
Yeah.
And again, that's no offense or disrespect when I say that. It's just like you said, the Raiders are at the point in the season where it's like y'all are looking towards next season. Y'all aren't worried about the season anymore.
No, hey, do us a favor and win by 30. Do us a favor, please. Hey, look, I'm already tired of my team doing this smoking cigars crap after winning games, and we ain't even making playoffs. That's weak. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think you guys would be fine. I mean, going against the Eagles, are you guys relatively still healthy, or are you guys missing some people?
Yeah, we're the healthiest. I mean, a part of the struggles early in the year, we had like, and I'm not even trying to be funny when I say this, we had like 4 or 5 defensive linemen like out due to injury, and so we had guys coming up from the practice squad, and it's like the Bengals, they aren't one of those teams. They're very reactive, so it's like they almost wait to see like that there's trouble and that they need to do something to potentially fix something before, instead of being proactive and trying to fix it before it becomes an issue. So we had so many injuries on the defensive line, and finally starting to get healthy. And so I feel like that's a big part of why the defense has been playing so much better. So but just take it one game at a time. I mean, the Eagles are a challenge for sure. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Now they got Saquon. They got a young defense, and I think that's the thing is like putting yourself in position to take advantage of those young defenders. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is, he's leading the league in receiving yards right now. In my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. T. Higgins is also really good too. So I feel like they're one of the best 1-2 punches at wide receiver in the NFL. And I mean, you say the same thing about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I think the game, it'll be a good game.
Oh yeah, Saquon Barkley too. I keep forgetting.
It's easy to forget. He had a great game, by the way. I think he rushed for like 150, 160 yards, something crazy like that. But that's going to be the key. Is you can't really stop Saquon necessarily, but just kind of limiting how effective he is. So I'm looking forward to the game for sure. We're starting to wind down a bit, but there are a couple of other, just one or two more topics we wanted to get into really quickly before we end the episode. Let's get into had some trades this week, and last week. You lost your one of your favorite players, Devontae.
Devontae, hope is better on the other side. Hope is better on the other side, buddy.
Yeah, Devontae, he got his wish, and he got traded to go play with his buddy.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, just to clear that up, because he is from my hometown, which is East Palo Alto. Glad he was able to come to the Raiders. Glad he was able to do what he do, but we didn't treat him right. We didn't get him what he needed. I mean, if you ask for a quarterback, you don't give anybody Jimmy Garoppolo. You don't give them Gardner Minshew. You don't give him a third string backup in Aiden O'Connell. So I'm glad he's playing with his best friend, and Aaron Rodgers, and I do hope they do better. Like, because they do better, Raiders do better. So yeah.
Y'all ended up getting a third round pick, but it is a conditional third round pick, so it can become a second round pick if Devontae becomes a first or second team All Pro this season, or if he's on the active roster, if the Jets make the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl.
So I'm gonna need Aaron Rodgers to get the program.
So you definitely need them to get it together over there in New York.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I thought it was really just a matter of time, to be honest with you. I mean, I think we talked about it, before when we did the episode before the season started. I thought that Devontae was eventually going to wind up over with the Jets anyway. Aaron Rodgers is really particular. I think at this point in time, you can kind of see how much control he has in that organization. Because I mean, to me, I understand why he would want Devontae. The offense, you really only have one legitimate receiver, in my opinion, which was Garrett Wilson. So him and Devontae Adams that's a potent duo. That's a good 1-2 punch. But there's so many issues on the offensive side of the ball for them. Like, their offensive line is terrible. I don't know if you watched any Jets games recently, but
I've not. No.
Rodgers gets hit like all the time. I mean, and he's taking like hard hits. And so with him being as old as he is and coming off of that Achilles injury, I feel like getting a offensive lineman probably would have been the better use of that trade, but
you think
to something to trade for. But I think Aaron Rodgers wanted his toy. He wanted his shiny toy, Devontae Adams. He wanted somebody out there he could trust. He wanted the vibes. Him and Devontae played together for years, so I understand why he did it. I just don't really feel like it was the best move, to be honest.
Well, I'll say this: wheel routes to your running back ain't gonna do much if you just keep on getting Devontae 30 yards for receiving.
He only had 3 catches for 30 yards, and he also, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, because the last game he was with the Raiders was against the Steelers, even though he wasn't active due to his injury, he actually ended up losing to the Steelers twice, 2 weeks in a row. And he only had 3 catches, I think, for 30 yards in the game against the Steelers. So not a good game. But we'll see how the Jets season ends up unfolding. The next trade we want to get into, Amari Cooper being traded from the Browns to
the Bills.
What did you think about that?
A perfect trade for him where he needs to be. And I don't care what anybody tries to tell me. Amari Cooper's a better route runner than Stephon Diggs. I don't care what anybody says. He's been doing it since Alabama. He did it with the Raiders. He was just getting nothing and just being used the wrong way in Cleveland. Just glad he's with the quarterback who knows how to find him. And his first game, he got a touchdown. So it's just like, glad for him, good for him. The Bills are even better with that receiving core. And yeah, it's on the up and up for them. But what do you think?
Yeah, man, it's a good trade for the Bills. I think if you watch any of the Bills games this year, you could clearly see that they badly needed like an actual like legitimate wide receiver one. Like, don't get me wrong, Keon Coleman is talented, but he's a rookie, and I think it's going to take time for him to continue to develop his game. So like you see, he has moments where he makes plays and kind of makes splash plays even, but you can just tell he has a ways to go before he becomes, I think, what the Bills are hoping he can become. I mean, as far as the compensation goes, the Bills receive Cooper and a 25 sixth round draft pick for a third and a seventh round pick in 2026, or 2025 third and a 2026 seventh round pick. So, wide receiver as talented as Amari Cooper, that's I mean, that's pretty cheap. You know, like you're not really giving up a whole bunch for him.
Yeah,
I think it was best for both parties because I think he was fed up being in Cleveland, them losing the way they were, Deshaun Watson playing the way he was. Also, really quickly, we didn't talk about it, but Deshaun Watson with the unfortunate tearing of his Achilles. So,
prayers up to him in his recovery.
Yeah. Unfortunate for him, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery, and he's able to fully recover from that injury. But that is a tough injury to come back from. But Deshaun Watson had just been struggling. He had been struggling honestly, since he had gotten to Cleveland. And I think the Browns were thinking he was the missing piece. And I mean, Amari Cooper, I think, was thinking like they were going to be this like dynamic duo, and it never turned into that. So
I feel bad for my homie Nick Chubb, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming back from that injury, and I mean, the injury he had last year was tough. And he actually looked solid against. I mean, he didn't really do too much, but at this point, it's more so just about him being able to play football and not re-injure him. So that's really the most important thing. And so, but yeah, man, good deal for the Bills. It gives them their number one wide receiver, and I mean, they really needed that, especially with the goals that they have for making a deep playoff run and potentially trying to win a Super Bowl. Last but not least, let's get into the trade that happened today. We had DeAndre Hopkins being traded to the Chiefs.
Nope.
What are you thinking about that one?
What else does Pat Mahomes need, bro? Like, so he gets the wide receiver he needs. They have a chance to freaking three-peat, which has that been done before?
No, never in history.
Yeah, never been a three-peat ever. But yeah, I mean, good for D-Hop. You know what I mean? Help Mahomes, help them get further. They got more ammunition. That's better for my team because we play them this week. So if Patrick Mahomes has 500 yards and 5 TDs, we know why.
Yeah. I mean, the compensation, I think it was a 5th rounder. The Titans sent, or the Chiefs sent a 5th rounder that can turn into a 4th rounder potentially, depending upon how Hopkins ends up playing. But yeah, I mean, good deal for them. Hopkins isn't the receiver that he once was. He's not the Houston Texans version of DeAndre Hopkins, or really the Arizona Cardinals version, but he's better than any wide receiver that they have right now. And you could click Rashee Rice got hurt, Hollywood Brown got hurt, and so they're really hurting.
They have Worthy, but he's more of like
he's a rookie. Exactly, yeah. So they definitely needed a veteran presence, and he'll provide. I think he'll do fine. I'm not sure. Like I said, he's not the wide receiver that he once was, but I think he'll be good. I mean, Mahomes has been struggling a bit. Their offense has been struggling, other than running the ball. They've been running the ball really well, but as far he's just not. The passing game just hasn't been as explosive as it normally what we're used to seeing from the Chiefs. So this can go a long way in helping with that. So yeah, man, those were we wanted to get into those trades, especially for the wide receivers, and kind of talk about our thoughts and the impact they could potentially have over the rest of the season. Last but not least, as you both know, this is after the catch, but we're part of PGM, which is Purple and Gold Mines, and so we came together originally because we're supporters of the Los Angeles Lakers. Last night was the opening night for the Lakers season, so we just wanted to touch on that really quickly before we close out the show. The Lakers ended up coming out with the dub, which they hadn't done in quite a while. I want to say it was like 6 years of losing opening night.
2016.
Yeah.
2016.
So, um, so yeah, how'd you feel watching that game last night, KB?
Felt good. It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
I have a head coach that knows his schematics, that knows exactly what he wants, that demands accountability, and just no laziness. That's just non-negotiable. And he coached a good game. For him to get that game one win for the opening night game against one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, looked good. Yeah, they didn't have Cat, Karl Anthony Towns, but it is what it is. I will say this again. I don't care how funny it sounds. Julius Randle looked like the foster child on that team. It was very bad. But no, all in all, just jokes aside, yeah, Lakers got the dub. Happy for them. We played a good team, and AD showed out saying he is here and he's Batman. So loved it. And more importantly, LeBron and his son got to share the court for first to ever do it in the NBA. Amazing.
Yeah, that was dope.
And LeBron just continues to make more history. So
yeah, and apologize for not saying the score initially when we brought this up, but the score of the game was 110 to 103. And just to kind of get into some scores a bit, KB was talking about AD. AD had 36 points along with 16 rebounds and 4 assists. LeBron actually had a pretty pedestrian game. He only had 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Rui, good game. And not just on the offensive side of the ball. You could just see his activity level on the defensive side of the ball was a lot higher than what we've seen in the past. Active hands. I mean, he was on the boards as well. Very proactive there. He had 18 points with 5 rebounds and 1 assist. Yeah, man. Not to dig too far deep into it, but the same Lakers team, and I think we kind of already talked about this a little earlier today, but this same Lakers team, if we're talking about the Lakers team from last year, playing in the game last night, they would have found a way to lose that game.
Sure would have.
And we have seen time and time again where the Lakers come out, they play well, they get out to a double-digit lead, close to kind of 20 points or somewhere around there, and then they end up letting the other team come back, and then they end up losing the momentum, and then they lose the game altogether. And so one thing that I heard the coach, I've heard JJ Redick, I've heard the players emphasize over and over in the offseason was attention to detail since he's been hired. And you could definitely tell this team compared to the Lakers team of last year, just how much more focus there was to the little things. Just like, hey, even if you're not hitting shots, finding a way to have a positive impact on the game. And so, seeing that from, D'Lo, seeing that, just the defensive intensity was a lot different. Like, we were so used to, AD being one of the best defenders in the world, the best defender in the world. We're so used to kind of seeing our perimeter defensive players get cooked, and it kind of leaves AD out there, like, it leaves him hanging. And so just seeing how active everybody was on defense and just like playing together, it was really impressive. You already highlighted, LeBron and Bronny, and what a great moment that was. Ken Griffey Sr., Ken Griffey Jr. both being at the game and them having an opportunity to kind of have that historic moment together. AD, last thing I'll say, we've seen AD play great because he's a great player, one of the best players in the world. but he was playing with the edge last night. Like he was really just trying to show people, I don't care who's on the floor. I don't care, Anthony Edwards being the player that he is, LeBron being the player that he is. It doesn't matter. I'm the best. I'm the best player on this floor tonight. And so, like, just seeing him be aggressive, seeing the offense run through him, which we've been, begging for. Seeing him get in other players' faces, like after big moments, big momentum swings in the game. It was just, like you said, it felt good to see that, especially, they had all the reasons in the world, new coach, new philosophy, new things you're trying to implement, new offensive schemes. They had all the reasons in the world to kind of come out sluggish and come out slow and maybe a bit rusty.
Mm-hmm.
But that was probably the sharpest we've seen them on an opening night in years. So, yeah, man, it was exciting to watch, and PGM will be delivering y'all a ton of Laker content over the season. But we just wanted to touch on that really quickly. We appreciate everybody tuning in. The KB, sign us off.
Yeah, playoffs pretty much said it best. We just want to touch on the Lakers because we are what we are. We are PGM, presented by PGM. This is After the Catch. This is episode 5, I want to say.
Yep.
Like I said, Bengals continue being the Bengals. My Raiders will continue being the Raiders. Bulldogs, Georgia Bulldogs will do what they do. Gamecocks will do what they do. But like we say, everybody, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. It's 3 things. It's easy. It's not hard. Trust me, it won't cost you a thing. And show us support. If you like it, let us know. If you don't like it, let us know. If we can improve on things, let us know. So come on, we need your help. We grow, you grow, help us grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we appreciate any feedback. We just want to continue to get better at doing this. So, any feedback that you have for us, we definitely appreciate it. And I'm trying to think, was there anything else that I wanted to say or that we needed to cover? Yeah, man, I think that's pretty much it, man. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, appreciate y'all bearing with us while we had that small break. Like I said, we had some things going on personally, but after the catch, we're going to continue putting out, videos weekly. So appreciate you bearing with us. And again, we hope that you just continue to support. And again, any feedback, we welcome it for sure.
Exactly. This is After the Catch presented by PGM. We're out. See you guys episode 6.
Peace.